Hello and welcome to part 2 of this Marshall JMP 100. If you remember in part 1, this amp had blown a diode on the rectification there, which we've replaced all 4 diodes, and we've got these mods that remember this 30, 60, 100 mod on the output tubes, send and return, and this line out that we've got here, which is connected to the speaker sockets there. So the customer wants all these mods removing, so we're going to remove all of those, get this amp back to original, or original as it can be. The customer does want to send and return putting in this amp, but the way this one's been done is laughable really. So we're going to find a kit that will go in this amp, and I've been looking at a couple of kits online, so we'll look at those later. But for the time being, we're just going to strip all this mods, contraptions, whatever you want to call them. We're just going to get rid of them, put this amp back to original. Right, we're going to start removing some of these mods then on this amp. So we'll start with this line out. Let's have a look at that first of all. Now I've still got the bolts. I've still not bolted the board down, which is handy at the minute. Got that there. Let's get some of these tie wraps off, then we can see where these wires are going. That goes down to here. So and of course, stripping these mods off won't take that long. It's just putting everything back together, what's been disconnected and so on. We have got a schematic. I've actually downloaded 2 schematics. We'll have a look at those. One's the original schematic and one's for the reissue, but the reissue one is very clear, and it is the same as, well, the parts of this amp that we're interested in is, which is this preamp section here. So that's got rid of that pretty quick. Just disconnect that from there. That will just cut it. Just put this iron back in there, hold it. So cut that off there, and we'll cut that pink wire there, and that white wire is going to the grid on that stage there, on that 12X7. So that's that. So I say it's just fitting up, getting all this put back together, and as I said, I'm going to use some screen cabling there. So we need to remove these resistors now, these small mods. So put this back to its as a cold clipper. Remove that. You can see that's here. They've been tacked on. Yep, just tacked on. That's easy enough to get off. We've got to clean that up, of course. And then there's this 92K resistor that they've put across the attenuator. go, he's flirted off. We've got him there, so we've got rid of him as well. We just need to tidy that up, get some of that solder off there, and then just clean up the board. Don't think anything else has been changed in here. Going to be tidying that up a bit. It's okay, it's just the insulation that's on that. Don't see anything else. We've got to change that screen resistor as well, haven't we? Because the outer coating's crumbling on it and it looks a bit corroded on the end. So we'll probably change him. Right, I've got the board cleaned up. Got rid of my flux and cleaned up around these resistors here. And the one that was there where we've removed those components. Cleaned all those soda flakes off the board. Not sure what was going on there. Right, so we need to get this wire off the grid. So before we do that, we need to take the tube out because we don't want to be soldering on the tube. So we're going to remove that. There we go. We'll just clean that pin up. I've just spotted another resistor here. That doesn't look original either. That is a 92k also, and that's going from the input socket to this volume. So we're going to have I don't think that's original. I'm almost sure it's not. In fact, I know it's not. So we'll have that removed. Right, we'll download the schematic, print it. Well, I've downloaded it. We'll print it off, and then we'll have a look and see what's what. Now we've got this green wire here, which is coming onto these inputs, which is the grid stopper coming onto the input sockets. Tell you what, I don't see on this amp. The grid leak resistor. Oh, I do, it's down there on the socket, hiding away. Because we're going to remove this green wire. We can't see it down there, but just go in a little bit more. This green wire here, you can just about see it there coming off the input. That goes to this grid stopper. So we're going to remove that and put some screen cable on that. We're going to try and screen most of this. So we've got a wire here off the, which is off the, coming off the wiper, which has come from the send and return, and then we've got this green wire which also came from the send and return. Let's just check what's going on down here, see if there's any, because there's been some soldering down here. Oh, that looks a bit messy, so we'll just sort that out. That doesn't look, oh, that looks a bit cold on there. Man, we've got to take that off anyway, so that's not a problem. We've got, and then we need to ground all these cathodes. So I think we need to take this yellow wire out and ground these cathodes on each of these lugs here. And I can see where they've cut that, each one of those from there. So I think we'll need to get these yellow wires. Oh, sorry, can't see that, can you? We need to get these yellow wires out as this, well, this one yellow wire here. I think there is another one here, yeah. So we need to get those out and then just ground to the, like they were originally, with the lug down onto these. In fact, I think the lugs are still there. So we'll get that out as well. Right, so I've got the schematic here. That's upside down. Got the schematic, and I'm just checking for around just to see if anything's been removed. So one of the things I checked was the negative feedback, because of course people have been modding amps. That's sometimes one of the things that does get removed, but that all appears to be in order. So if we look and put something underneath that to fatten it up a bit, madam. So if we look here, negative feedback is here, coming up here. So we've got this black wire coming out there on the 4 ohms tapping, and then purple, and then 100k resistor there, and that comes all the way along here into the gubbings of the phase inverter there, where the presence control is connected to. So we've got a 4k7 there, a 0.1 and a 22k presence pot. So checking that all of that's there. If we just go in a bit, purple wire here, black wire there, purple wire here. That purple wire goes along to here, and there's the 100k resistor there. There's the 0.1 and the 4.7k. The purple wire is actually here, from the presence pot to the 100k there, and then the other purple wire that we've seen going along here, that is connected under the there, that purple wire, sorry. So that purple wire there goes along there, comes in through there, not there, through here, back to front, goes to that 100k, and then that's connected through to here, goes to the presence control 4.7.01. So the negative feedback is all in place. Now I've also got, this is the schematic for the reissue model here, and this and I actually downloaded this because it I can see the values pretty easy, and if I compare them to this amp, they actually are all the same. And this one as well has got the effects card on there, the send and return. And if we look on here, we've got, you perhaps can't see that, might need to just put the macro lens on. So if we look at this first of all, you can see we've got W4 and W3 there. And if we look here, W3 there and W4. So W4 is coming out of this master volume there after the tone stack, and then the effects loop is going in between the master volume and the grid of the phase inverter there coming in. So that's how that's done, and that's really where that should be placed, not like this one on here was placed, which was placed between, where are we, volume here, where they put it from between here and here on there. So that's the last place you want to put a send and return. Getting a few problems with this camera because I'd got this camera set how I wanted it, and then the other day, instead of formatting the card, I pressed the reset for the camera by mistake, and it all went a bit pear-shaped after that. And of course it's that long since I set it up, I couldn't remember all the settings. So we've had one or two, and notice if you saw one or two of the clips where this appeared to be a little bowed, this edge, but we've got that straight now. But anyway, so that's where we are now. Speaking of this, a send and a return, one guy in the comments left some information on the head first amplification, apparently do one of these, so that's worth a look. And also I've found a couple more online which we could have a look at. But if any of you are watching this and you've fitted one of these send and returns before, or you've read up on some of these, let me know in the comments what you think, what would be the best one. One of them I looked at, and I don't know whether this one's same or the one from Head First, but one of them I looked at, and you actually connected the B plus voltage, the plate voltage through that, or the, well, not the plate voltage, but the power, the B plus coming through here through these preamp stages. You actually connected the B plus through that one, and I haven't really had a chance to read up, and I couldn't find a schematic for it as I had a quick glance on the web page. So we'll have a look at that one. But yes, and I've not seen the one from Head First either. I presume there's a video on their channel for that, so I should be having a watch of that as well, and so will the customer, because he's keen to get the right send and return mod in this amp. Now the only other downside to these send and return mods, which not so much a downside, it just is to this particular amp. So I've got here, we just bring the camera across a bit, I've got two holes here and a little hole there. We've also got a hole in the front, which obviously there's nothing we can do about, as not these, but it would be nice to get a send and return kit that would fill these holes. Now if they're mounted on a board, and the one that I actually saw online was mounted on the board, the chances of these holes being the right distance apart, well, practically impossible. We'd be very lucky, wouldn't we? And to be fair, if I bought one and they dropped straight in there, I'd be buying a lottery ticket. And then of course, sometimes they've got a bypass switch on or whatever there, it'd be nice if we could utilise that hole with the bypass switch, and then I wouldn't have to drill any more holes in this chassis, and I really don't want to. But of course I can utilise one of these holes, and I'm probably going to have to drill another one, so, and possibly two if there's a bypass switch on the send and return. There was a switch on the one I looked at online, but again I only glanced at it, I was in a bit of a hurry. Now I've got some screen cable here, which was on the line out, which was the only thing they did manage to put the screen cable on. So we're going to use that. I've already cut off the grid stopper and pulled that wire out, and that's here. And we're going to connect that up using this screen cable. I've got plenty of screen cable, and then we're going to screen this pot here as well, this gain pot, volume, whatever it is, doofra. So we're going to put some screen cable on that as well, and we'll try and get this amp quiet if we can. And we've still got to ground the cathodes and grid 3 on these output tubes, so we need to pull those because we're going to be soldering on the sockets as well. I think we'll test the tubes, shall we? Yes, we'll test the tubes, see if they're okay. But I'm quite pleased with this now, because the board's looking nice and clean, and we've got rid of all the mess that was in here, and now we can make it right. Right, I've just tested all the resistors in this amp, and every single one of them's virtually bang on. So no issues with those. Right, I've got most of this put back to original now. There's just a few bits to do. This ground here was this is actually the power from the wall outlet ground. The earth was tacked onto there, which is no good. But I found a hole there that's in the chassis, so I'm going to utilise that, and I'm going to put that ground, that earth, into there like so, which is how it should be. But we're just about there with this now. I've got this area wired up, and I've just got to go through the schematic, just make sure that nothing else has been changed or wired up incorrectly or whatever. Now I've got this tacked on at the minute, because I might put a grid stopper on there for when this pot is fully open, this volume. So I've just got that tacked on for the time being, because I just want to see, because you get this oscillation problem on these Marshalls when you turn the volume full up on there. You get it on a lot, and they tried to combat that with a wire that they pushed up against, well, I can't remember, one of the components. It's a while since I've worked on one of these, but I've replaced all this cable with screen wire, so or screen cable on there, so we should hopefully that should be a bit quieter, but we'll see when we fire it up. Right, there's the ground on there done properly, so that's that sorted out. Screen resistors on there, and we've got the cathodes wired back up. The cathodes in grid 3 on the L34s wired up to ground. So we're going to fire this up. We need to get some monitoring on the voltage as well. So it's the bias to make sure that we've got bias on these tubes. Current limiter on, so let's just switch on. 40 watt bulb in there at the minute, so we're just trying to keep things, and you can see I've got, because we're still on standby, but if we look up there you can see we've got plenty of bias voltage going in there. We've got 80 volts and climbing going into the amp. We'll just check along, make sure each one's got bias. But yeah, they should have, but we'll check anyway. Yeah. Yeah, so that's good. Make sure we've got voltage there. Now we'll just tack on to the HT voltage and the flick standby on, and we've got 72 volts and climbing, 87 volts as you can see there going in. So we can increase the bulbs over to 100, and it's running. Put another 40 watts in there. You see the plate voltage going up. Now I wired this up as per schematic. This 470 attenuator here, which they put a 92k in, normally has a 47 picofarad cap across it, but I've left that off for the time being because these amps are incredibly bright, and all that does is just passes the highs over that, because obviously being such a big resistor it usually drops some of the highs off there. But I've got my Strat through this now, which is quite a bright guitar. As it's a maple necked one. And has the Seymour Duncan Antiquities in it. Let's crank this. plenty of top on there. You crank the presence and the treble up. And just putting that screen cable on there has got rid of that oscillation when you turn the volume up full. Just drop back a bit so you can see what I'm doing. So I've got this cranked now, and that seems to have got rid of that oscillation there. Right, let's just take it off the current limiter, and we should get a lot more. Let's try the low. Walk away for it with the guitar. That amp now, the volume is cranked flat out, and the master volume's on number 5. And all you can hear is the white noise. So all that humming, buzzing, whatever else was in there is now all gone. Right, I've got the PRS through it now. Which is a bit more three-pulsious. So I don't think we really need that 47 pico on there. Just making it, just make some ultra bright. Most people end up taking off the bright cap on the pot, but you're better off just taking, I think you're better off just taking the attenuator bright caps off instead. And we've only got one off because there's actually two And the other one, I'm not pointing my finger in because it's switched on, the other one is there. Monday morning rusty guitar playing. Even more rusty because I was playing yesterday late evening, and of course the day after my hands are so stiff, it takes me so long to get going. Need to do all the demos round about Thursday or Friday. But that's all sounding good and it's quiet now. I'm just going to pull the guitar out, turn it up. That's probably quieter than it was when it came from the factory. But yeah, no. And I've seen videos where people have done various things to get rid of this oscillation on the volume. Basically, the volume just almost cuts out when you crank it. People have put small capacitor across the plate and cathode on here, but I've just got rid of that, replacing it with screen cable. So that's good enough for me. So we need to check the bias on this amp now, and also we need to turn it over and clean it up because it's pretty grubby underneath. I've been so focused on the mess that was in here, I've not done the top part yet, so we need to clean all of that up, clean the sockets. So what I'm listening out for now is if there's any plate resistors that are dodgy. And that's, yeah, you got the white noise, but this amp is so quiet. Right, swap these capacitors, and that brought the bias up quite a bit, so I've had to reduce it again on here. But the tubes are massively out. So I've got 12.7 on this side, and I've got 17.3 on the other. So looks to me like one of the tubes is a bit tired, or has been swaged with this 30, 60, 100 thing, and obviously that was a matched set and they're not matched now, so we've possibly got a tube that's very very weak. Transformer's pretty well balanced, 17R on one side and 15.5R on the other. So 17 ohms and 15.5, that's not a mile out. So waiting for those tubes to cool down. And then we are going to have a check. So I'm going to pull out a pair of them. And I'm going to pull the outer two out. And then I'm going to check the bias just on the two. If we've got one of these tubes that's either week or has said good night. So this tube here is swaging about half of what the others are. So here's the problem for the imbalance of bias. He's drawing half the current. Right, I've got the Marshall up and running. Got it back in its case. We're all good. Tubes are still a little out on the bias. I managed to find a tube to go in it. They're about just over 2 watts out. But not a lot we can do about that without having a full match set in there. But they're certainly closer than 4 watts. Cleaned up all the top of the chassis there inside. Tested all the tubes, they're great. Checked it on the scope, all looks good. So we're all ready to roll. Once I put these on so I can see what I'm doing. So I've just got that in the low setting there. And I didn't put that 47 picofarad cap over that attenuator either, because this amp's plenty bright enough without that. These amps do have a reputation for being a little bright, especially in the high setting. So setting. Yeah, you have to really question, don't you? You know what they were trying to do modding this amp. This amp's got so much overdrive. What we're trying to get out of it, I just don't understand what they were trying to achieve there. But this amp sounds great, and now that cold clipper's back in place. It's a nice soft distortion. This thing is loud. Something like that. Very rusty. Very stiff my thumbs. But there we go. So that's the Marshall JMP 100 Master Volume Lead Mark II in tweed. This amp's going to have to come back in again because it's going to have a send and return fitted. There's just one thing with it though. I was run earlier on. It seems to have calmed down now, but a little bit of frying. So we'll just have to see how that goes. Well, that is absolutely flat out now. And that's like halfway up. We should be blowing the windows out if I plug the guitar into it. And that's really quiet. So there we go. So that'll do it for this one. So thanks for watching. You all take care. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye for now.